And joining us now in studio is Marc Schulman, the editor-in-chief of History Central and editor and columnist for Newsweek, to talk more about it. Hello and good to see you, and nice tie.
Thank you.
You have all the presidents except for President Trump on that tie, right?
I didn't make Obama either. This was actually put out before Obama.
Yeah, so it was made.
The last one was Bush, so.
All right, that's okay. Well, that just shows that it's held up over time pretty well.
Absolutely, yes.
So, okay, so what do you make of all of this? I mean, with all of the goings on, we've been talking about January 6th for a long time. Do you think it will come to former President Trump being charged and facing a trial?
I think it will. I mean, we don't know for sure. The Justice Department has to take the responsibility of doing it. It's a big responsibility to charge a former president, and by the time they charge him, he'll probably be a presidential candidate. But the facts are, the evidence is overwhelming. That this was a sedition, an attempt to minimally to stop an official proceedings of the government of the United States, which is a crime. And the goal was, of course, to keep himself in office. And the evidence so far on all levels has been overwhelming. I mean, the first question is, did he did it because he really thought he won? Well, we saw in the initial hearings that he was told time and time again, there's no chance you won, you didn't win. Everybody told him he didn't win, but he didn't listen to that. Did he know that the people going to riot were armed and dangerous? Well, we saw that when we learned that he didn't care the fact that they had guns and told them, bring them in, forget the magnanimous. Did he try to do anything to stop them? Well, we saw last night, absolutely positively not. He threw oil on the fire when he tweeted out that Pence was a coward for not stopping the certification of the election. So he basically told his people to keep on going. And we all
saw it unfold.
Yeah,
it was all unfolding in live television,
right,
too.
We saw it all unfold, but we didn't really know what was going on quite in the White House. We suspected nothing was going on, but we saw that very much. Some of the things we learned last night were really frightening. The fact that the Secret Service agents were trying to contact their families to say goodbye. I mean, that they thought their lives were in danger, which means Pence's life was really in danger. We came that close to what sort of catastrophe that would have been. Mm-hmm. So all the elements are there of a crime. To do it, of course, it's almost going to start a civil war. Although I think there are enough people are beginning to realize, while they may like the Trumpist policies, maybe he's not the right man, at least some percentage of people. Right. I mean, some percentage of people are keeping regardless. It's quite amazing to me that facts seem to have no bearing whatsoever.
Right, and should he, run for re-election, which I think, it's pretty common knowledge he probably will. How will this work? Like, will a decision be made to start pursuing charges during a bid for president?
Well, yes, I think they will be. I mean, the point of the matter is you're not supposed, according to the Justice Department, to do something right before an election. Well, right before an election is in 2024, maybe January, February, March, before the election in November. We're now in 2022. I'm sorry, it's not right before election. We're years before an election. So I think it's plenty of time to do that. Remember, the other issue is if he's convicted, I think it very clearly will be impossible for him to run, even because of the 14th Amendment. Because someone who was involved in an insurrection against the government of the United States cannot seek further office, federal office. I mean, it hasn't been litigated in today's times. It was passed post-Civil War to keep some of the Confederate generals from running for office. Mm-hmm. But no one changed the Constitution.
No one think that it would be come into play today. Well, and maybe it will make government agencies work a little quickly. I mean, 2 years in bureaucracy is a long time, but for something like this, it may be fast-tracked.
Maybe it makes sense. I mean, look, the way these things usually work is they work from down up. They start from the lowest people they can convict and then work their way up and get people to turn. Look, what we're seeing right now, the committee announced the fact that there would be more hearings in September. I think Cheney said that the dam is breaking and more witnesses are coming forth, which means people are realizing, I got to get on the right side of this, I got to get on the right side of history, and so more people are going to testify.
Right.
And with more people testifying, all the people around him, I think there's no question that he'll be guilty ultimately. I mean, certainly Meadows is guilty. A whole crew of them, Giuliani, a whole crew of people are clearly guilty. And to be honest with you, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, Trump, I think, is out of his mind generally.
Yeah, I think everybody.
He's such a narcissist that to him there's only one thing in the world, and that's Trump. But these other people, what were they thinking? I mean, Meadows. I mean, he's not a stupid person. He's supposedly a patriot and everything. What was he thinking? Did he really think that overturning an election made sense? that you could do this and continue to be a democracy.
Well, and then you bring up Giuliani because I lived in New York in all the years that he was mayor and 9/11, and it's like he became a caricature of himself because he did so much great for the world, and his whole...
Something happened, I think, when he ran for president and lost so badly early on in the Republican primaries. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
He didn't make it very far, and I think something snapped at that point. Because since then, he has certainly not been the same Giuliani we all knew as mayor of New York.
And it kind of undoes everything, does everything that he did do.
America's mayor, well, now we think of him as Trump's idiot.
Yeah.
A clown idiot. That's really what we think of Giuliani, which is a shame because he had a good reputation. He
cleaned up the city.
He could have come down in history with positive thoughts, and we would all think positive things about him. I mean, he had his opponents. There were some things maybe went a little bit too far, but the reality was he was a good mayor of the city of New York, and he certainly was a great mayor on 9/11. So we could have remembered him as the great mayor of New York on 9/11. Instead, what's his legacy going to be? It's really sad.
Well, it's so interesting to see even 10 years from now, 20 years from now, how will the history books be portraying this aberration in American history?
I put down on my website shortly afterwards, insurrection at the Capitol. I have not seen a reason to change what I wrote probably the week afterwards, and I may add more information as time goes on, but that's what it was. It was an insurrection. It was an attempt to overturn an election with force, no different than we've seen in other places in the world. Thankfully, the institutions of America held, but just barely.
Wow, very interesting. Thank you, as always, for shedding light on these very complicated times that we're living in.
Absolutely.